My story started 29 years ago. I was 10. I attended a school in Chicago. After school, I would have to ride the bus from Chicago all the way to Cicero. My house was probably a mile from the bus stop. It was a brick house, 2 bedrooms, and a bungalow. It had concrete stairs that would lead to the first floor. All of the main rooms were on the right-hand side. You would step in and it'd be a dining room, a window-paned swing door that would lead into the kitchen. And starting from the beginning again, on the left-hand side, my grandmother's room. In the dining room area would be my mother's room on the left-hand side, through the kitchen, the bathroom, the pantry on the left-hand side, and an indoor patio enclosed. And 2 doors, one on the left leading to the basement and one on the right to the attic. The attic is just a typical attic. It wasn't done. It didn't have any rooms. It was just an old attic, hot. Nobody went up there. We just stored a couple boxes and it had that typical 1 light bulb that would light it up. When you went down to the basement, at the end of that first flight of stairs, the door to the backyard, the first 2/3 of the basement would have your typical laundry room. It had this old style counter. You could fold your clothes and put all your stuff in there. On the right-hand side, a wooden barn door. You can open it. It almost looked like an outhouse. It had an upgraded toilet, but the toilet was disgusting. The walls were black. It looked like mold, but it wasn't. It was a really old mirror, a really old sink, all of that. If you kept walking, there was the backside of the water heater and all of that. Then the door. That led to the last third part of the house. It was a makeshift apartment. It had 2 small living rooms. The height of the ceiling was very low. I can touch the ceiling if I raised my arm. It had a little bedroom on the right-hand side and 2 closets. They weren't in the room. They were on each side of that bedroom. The backyard didn't have grass. It was pebbled and a 1-car garage, which is old, creepy, decrepit. Because of the whole ride down from Chicago to Cicero, I wouldn't get home until 5. So I get off the bus, walk a mile, get to the house. My little sister, who was 4, and then my grandmother would be there. It was a normal day. I'm coming home through the backyard. I open that back door. I call out for my grandmother and my sister, and I was like, "I'm here. Debbie," she's my little sister. I hear the water running. My grandmother loved to cook. She was always in the kitchen. I hear the sink running, dishes moving. I start walking upstairs. I looked around the doorway towards the kitchen. There was no one there. The water had stopped. I figured maybe she's in the bathroom. I go in the bathroom. She's not there. I'm working my way up to the house toward the front, looking at every room. I don't see anything. I don't hear anything. Okay, maybe she's downstairs. Maybe she's in that sink washing clothes. The water's running from the laundry machine. I start working my way to the back of the house. The whole time I'm like, "Debbie," calling my sister, hoping she'd run up to greet me. I stopped at the top of the stairs just to see if I heard anything, maybe the water running. I didn't hear anything. I go up to the attic. It's dark. I hate the attic. It's scary. It's hot. And go back down, start working my way to the basement. I'm working my way to that makeshift apartment in the back. Halfway there, I hear the back door open. It sounds like footsteps, like a little girl, because I also heard laughing. They're running up and across the house. I'm thinking like, oh, they're home, great. I'm running back up the stairs. As I'm climbing the stairs into the first floor of the house, I hear the water running again. The dishes moving. I look in the kitchen. I can hear the water still running. I can hear dishes moving. There's nobody there. There was no water coming out of the sink. I don't know what's going on. I'm out of there. It's too much. I went through the whole house. There's nothing. My grandmother loved to leave the house clean. There's not even any type of toys laying around, nothing that would show my sister was there. I ran out. I stayed in the alley. I'm sitting there thinking, what's going on? I waited maybe a few minutes, 2-3 minutes, and then I look out in the alley and my grandmother and my sister are walking down the alley carrying grocery bags. My grandmother gets to me and she's like, what are you doing outside? I'm like, look, I just don't want to be in there. There's no one in there. I'm scared. I don't want to be in there. That was the first time I ever experienced anything paranormal. But at the time, I don't feel like it wasn't going to be my last. My grandmother was living with me. She started living with me when I was 7, up until the age 17 years old. And even after that, I experienced so many paranormal situations. It even involved a priest coming to the house. Up until the day she died, that's when I stopped experiencing that intense of a situation, but I still experience it today. Sometimes I just don't want to deal with it, and I will turn around and just tell them, leave me alone, don't talk to me, get out of my house, you don't belong here. I don't want to say my grandmother was a witch, but she did read palms. She used to show me books. A lot of other things happened. My mother was involved in Santeria. She would do the whole killing of the chicken and wash the floors with blood. There's so much that happened. I still experience it now. I live far away from them. I had this dream and I woke up. I called my mom. I said, hey, check on my grandmother. Check on my grandmother. She's not okay. 2 days after that, my grandmother died. It's so weird because my grandmother died on the date that my daughter was born. It was 2 years afterwards, but she died on June 3rd. My daughter's born June 3rd. And my daughter, I had this intense feeling of naming her after my grandmother. It's ongoing. Again, intense feelings sometimes. I try to avoid them, ignore them. We were living in a different house. It was a holiday. I think it was Thanksgiving. My grandmother, she was a great cook. She made all these tamales. We had all the extended family over. All the cousins decided, hey, we're going to go upstairs. Somebody had brought a Ouija board. Upstairs in the attic, this was a different house. It was 2 bedrooms on either side up the stairs, and then up the flight of the stairs, a makeshift living room. We went to the right bedroom. We're all playing the Ouija board. It just started moving, and I'm thinking, okay, it's probably because we have so many people, somebody's moving it. Everybody got bored with it. They all went downstairs. Me and my little sister, at the time she was 7, I was 14 years old. We went into that area. We were sitting on my bed. We decided, let's play. It's just me and her, and it starts to move. We're asking questions. It says it's a girl. I don't remember the name, but it says it's a girl. I threw the Ouija board in the closet across from my bed. We went downstairs. That night, I went to sleep. 2 nights or the night after that, I would start waking up at 3 in the morning. That first night, I woke up and I felt this intense feeling like somebody was watching me from the closet. I'd run downstairs into my mother's room and she'd say that I was crazy. Like, what are you doing here? Why are you down here? Go to your room and go to sleep. I'm like, Mom, there's something there. My mom didn't want to admit that she believed, but I know she believed because she's like, oh, just stay down here and go to bed. That happened for 2 more nights after that. The second night, same thing. 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm scared. I get these scratches. There's this burning on my leg. I turn on the light this time. I see there's 3 scratches on my leg. Run back downstairs to my mom. She's telling me, you're just making this up. You're lying. You just don't want to be up there. I've been sleeping in my room for all these years. I'm really scared. There's something going on. Once it happened the third time, the next day we had to go to church. We went to church every Sunday. My mom tells me, go sit on the other side. I don't know why, but I'm sitting there looking at the instruments that they're fixing all their stuff. They're putting it all away. And I look over. My mom and my grandmother are talking to the priest. He's like constantly looking over at me. We went home. I decided to bring my cousin along. We're playing around and somebody knocks at the door. I open the door. The priest comes. He's right there. He's at the door. And I'm like, oh, hi. What are you doing here? He's like, oh, I just came to visit your mom, which was so odd. But he comes in. I call my mom and I see them doing this whole blessing of the house. They go to all of the house, the living room, the dining room, yard, the basement, all the rooms. And the last room that they did was the stairs that led up to that top floor in the attic, my area. They come back downstairs. They say, everybody hold hands. We're in the living room, which is right next to the door that leads up to the attic. We start praying. My cousin's looking at me like, what's going on? I don't know. We all start praying. We're holding hands. This was in the middle of June. It's hot. There's no breeze. The door leading upstairs, it slams open, then it slams shut. I was looking over to my mom, wording, I told you so. The priest, he's like, let's just keep praying. Then grabbed his stuff and told everybody bye and left. I start to smell roses. I turned to my mom and my grandmother. I'm like, did the priest bring roses? Did somebody buy roses? Asked my cousin, my sister, and nothing. Nobody has any flowers. Many years later, I realized that after a demon, I guess, is exorcised out of the home, you smell these flowers. It just shows that they're gone. After that, I was able to sleep in my room, no issues, no problems whatsoever. I just have so many, I don't want to say stories. They're not stories. They're actual things that happened. It's traumatic. People only experience these things when it's traumatic. But it's funny because after the traumatic part of my life, it started after. My father used to beat my mother up until the age of 9. After that, he moved to the basement, which was that first house I was describing. That's where he would sleep, and it just stopped. The whole hitting, the domestic violence in the house stopped. One day, me and my grandmother, we were up in the middle of the night watching some show. In her room, the light was on, but all the rest of the house was off. It was the summer. My mom obviously had to work, and everybody else was out. Me and my grandmother were there enjoying a, typical night treat of pan and leche. Watching TV. All of a sudden, I told her, can you lower the TV? I can hear from the vent coming from that basement, I hear a man and a woman arguing. I can hear them clearly arguing, but I don't hear what they're saying. My grandmother hears it too. She's like, oh my God, your mom and your dad are arguing again. You should go downstairs. I'm thinking, why are you sending me, a child, downstairs? I'm not going down there. I'm going to check my mom's room. So I go to my mom's room, turn on the light. My mom is sleeping with my little sister next to her. I turn it back off. I go tell my grandmother, hey, it's not my mom downstairs. My mom's sleeping. And she's like, what? Well, you should go check who he's arguing. I'm like, no, my dad doesn't argue with anyone in the world except for my mom. I'm not going down there. I will ask him tomorrow. The next day comes. I go downstairs to bring him a plate of food because my grandmother would still make sure he ate. I bring him his food and I'm like, hey, Dad, who were you arguing with last night? I heard you arguing with someone, but it wasn't my mom. It was my aunt here. Why I would think my aunt would be there in the middle of the night, I don't know. I didn't know. I'm like, I heard you arguing. He's like, no, I wasn't even here. Here. That house, it had a lot of paranormal events, and that was scary to me. I did run back upstairs and I told my grandma my dad wasn't here. There was no man downstairs and there was no woman. I don't know who was arguing. A few years back, I decided I wanted to investigate the house when it was built. It was built in 1931 in Cicero. It used to be known as Caponeville. Al Capone was in that area. He had a house, not that one, but it was there. That kind of made sense. There was other occasions where I would see a man in a hat, and it looked like a gangster almost. That old style suit they wore and that hat. I mentioned it to my grandmother and she's like, oh yeah, he's been following me since I was little. Maybe it was her father, maybe, I don't know. I see all these internet images. They show this hat man, but it wasn't like that. I felt calm. It never scared me. He was just there watching over us. I actually did stop seeing him once my grandmother died. That's just another thing that happened. A lot of situations happened to me over the years with being able to tell people, hey, I feel like this person is behind you. This person is watching you. So it's not everybody. Certain people just come out strongly. It's not like I can visibly see. It's almost a form, a shadowy figure, but I can detail what they look like. One of my kid's fathers, when I was with him, his grandmother, he had this like great relationship with his grandmother. She raised him. Once my daughter was born, I felt this presence of this elderly lady wearing those grandmother dresses. He's like, you know, that sounds like my grandmother. I described how she looked, down to the cigarette she smoked, her glasses. He was like, you're joking. You probably saw a picture somewhere. I'm like, she's just here. She wants to see your child, our first daughter together. Eventually, she was constantly around the house. It kind of bothered me because I always felt like somebody was watching me. But at one point, I'm like, look, I'm glad that you want to see your great-granddaughter and your grandson, but I want you to get out. I don't feel comfortable with you here. Eventually, it left, I guess you could say. And his sister-in-law, we were in one of the houses. We had put our kids to bed. She's sitting on the couch, and I was like, who are these three guys? There's just three guys standing behind you. They look like they could be like grandfather, father, and son, I guess. One of them as a military man, the army, with the old style army hats, glasses, the beard, the mustache, the cigar, and the other two, the typical dad, and then the younger one. I'm describing them to her, and she's like, oh my God, that's my grandfather, my dad, and my brother. It's just so weird. That also happened with one of my coworkers. He moved to another job. I went to work with him. We were having lunch together in the back room. I tell him, I feel like there's this man standing behind you. I'm describing him as well. African American. He's very lovingly just standing with his hand on your shoulder. Then he tells me, yeah, I never told you my father died recently. The time that me and you weren't working, he died. I'm like, well, he's here by you. That's all the information I ever got. They never actually spoke to me. It was just kind of me describing who they are and how they felt towards that person, but never them talking to me. My now husband, 4 or 5 years ago, his grandmother died. His grandmother and grandfather were the ones that raised him, loved him. Those were his parents. And I woke up in the middle of the night and I'm like, call your grandfather. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah, call your grandfather. There's something, you need to talk to him. You need to go visit him. You need to do something. He ended up going to visit him in the hospital the next day. The day after that, his grandfather died. I sometimes get these dreams where I feel like something's going to happen. Maybe not the exact same thing in the dream, but I have this urge to tell this person, call them, check on them, and then something will happen.